This is the Bolder Than Most podcast, where we talk with those making bold moves in business, real estate, and life. I'm your host, Trey Jacobs. Thank you for being here. Let's jump right in. Welcome back to the Bolder Than Most podcast. My name is Trey Jacobs, and today I'm actually really excited for this one. We have Mark Palmieri. He is I don't want to butcher your introduction. So, my man Paul, if you could please introduce yourself to the listeners.
Wow. All right. Well, yeah, thanks for having me, brother. My name is Mark Palmieri. I have a co-host and short-term rental arbitrage company in San Diego. So we can dive into that today. But yeah, super excited to be here.
Co-host and arbitrage, Airbnb, all that stuff that I've always been interested in, but actually I have no idea how it works. So
yeah,
that's dope,
sure.
bro. And we were before we started, we were talking about like having the courage to leave your full-time job to start something or to do something full-time that you started. And it's been part of your journey recently. How has that been?
Yeah, man, it's been awesome. So yeah, I started this business in 2021. Like everyone else, had a W-2 I just hated and wanted to find a way out of it. So kind of my current situation, I was in a lot of pain and kind of used that to fuel this business to kind of get it to a point where I could quit my job and fully, be a full-time entrepreneur. And I've loved every minute of it.
Yeah. How did you get into the space? Did you start with just co-hosting Airbnbs?
I started off with arbitrage. I mean, I think anyone you talk to that starts out in this business, I feel like they all start out by Airbnb in their apartment or their house. They're always like place they live, and they're going to go on vacation and they Airbnb their house for a weekend. And so that's what we did. It's actually a funny story. We bought this rooftop tent, my fiance and I, and we were going to put it on our car. We were going to go camping. And it was super expensive. So we were like, all right, well, we're going to like rent out this tent on top of our car on Airbnb to like pay off this tent. Turns out one thing led to another. The tent actually wouldn't fit on my car, and, we had to get rid of it. And we were like, shit. That plan didn't work out. But we were like, oh, why don't we just Airbnb our apartment? Like, that's a way easier idea. So we went to like Lake Tahoe for a weekend, Airbnb at our apartment, and like in San Diego, like a 2-bedroom apartment. It was like a weekend. We made like $1,000, and we're like, oh my god! Like our rent was only like
whoa.
Our rent at the time, our rent was like $1,900. We had a really good deal on our place, but I was like, whoa, this is kind of crazy. 2 nights, let's think of 30 nights. So that's how we got interested in it, and then learned more about arbitrage. So arbitrage is essentially kind of what we were doing, but you essentially lease an apartment, a home from a homeowner, and then with their permission, they're allowing you to sublease it. So you're not actually living at the property. You have no intentions of living there. Your sole purpose is to lease it from them, furnish it, and then offer it as a short-term rental. So that's arbitrage in a nutshell. So whatever your rent is, if you make, $2, $3, $4, $5 more on Airbnb, you're keeping that spread. You pay the landlord rent each month and keeping that profit.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got started in it. In the arbitrage game was just, started doing my apartment and started leasing. It's
that's so cool, man.
It's super lucrative.
You started with a tent. It didn't work out. Like,
yeah.
How do you find the arbitrage deals? Like, I've heard of people doing this, but how do you do that?
Yeah.
Where would you even start?
Everyone starts, I think Zillow is where everyone kind of goes. And so basically you're just looking for properties for rent that kind of fit your buybacks on like what you think is going to be a good short-term rental. But you kind of want to target owners kind of like what people do in real estate, right? You're looking for properties that have been on the market for a while, haven't been rented. It might be overpriced in rent, or it might be, terrible photos on Zillow or what have you. It's just not getting rented. So those are usually the people I try to target because they might be more open to a different like alternative strategy. But really any property I'll hit up or would hit up on Zillow to see if they're interested in this partnership. So Zillow is kind of the place that you would look for it. But I guess diving into arbitrage, you're probably everyone's thinking like, why the hell would someone let you Airbnb your house, right? Like what the hell? Like I would never let someone do that, right? And that's a very valid argument. And I heard it a million times from cold calling. Hundreds of owners. I think, my first arbitrage deal, I think I called 300 people before I got that first yes, just to kind of give you like how long it took. 'Cause I would do it
Jeez.
every day, at least like 20 calls a day. So it took a while to get that first deal, but kind of that art of the first deal. Once you get the first one, it just everything starts flowing. You get that proof of concept, and you start scaling a lot faster. But kind of the benefits of arbitrage and why an owner would want to work with you is there are a lot of benefits. But one is, we're a professional company that's going to take really good care of the property. Unlike a tenant, like I rent my apartment, I don't deep clean this place, once a month or twice a month. I don't take care of the maintenance. I don't make sure everything's in tip top shape. When I'm arbitraging, this is like my business and I need to make money on it. So like everything's got to be professionally clean. All the maintenance needs to be dialed in. The place has to be really well kept or I don't make money. So there's like a financial incentive for me to take care of their property versus a landlord that's just renting to a tenant that doesn't really care. They're just living there. They might, let mold grow in the bathroom or let maintenance, get out of hand or not clean the place, not take care of it.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the benefits to arbitrage. There's a ton more we can dive into. Some other ones would be essentially like with tenants, right? Like if you're living in your house and you're like, I don't want to live here anymore, or my girlfriend broke up with me, I need to move out, right? Tenants are always moving out. And with real estate, if a tenant moves out, the owner then needs to go and find another tenant to move into that property. And if they don't rent that for a month, 2 month, 3 month, that kills their cash flow, right? They're usually not making that great of margins on the real estate. So with me, I would come in and I would sign a 2-year, 3-year lease. I'm like, hey, like I'm going to like eliminate your tenant turnover. I'm going to take this property for 3 years. You don't have to worry about it. I'm going to take really good care of it. And you're going to always get that cash flow every month. So that was kind of the benefit to arbitrage with these owners. It's kind of
Do they ask for like a higher rent?
yeah, so that's something you'll get asked, right? And maybe in the beginning you might pay that, but me, I never pay. I always pay market rent because it's. I think when an owner starts asking for higher market rent, they're trying to profit off of your business, and I don't think that's right because the right owners understand the partnership, right? It's like I'm solving their problem. They've dealt with tenants that squat, tenants that don't pay on time, tenants that don't take good care of their property, tenants that don't renew their leases. Like that's a big problem. And when you're talking to these people, you got to find what their problem is with their current situation. Like, what are they dealing with their tenants that they hate? Maybe they hate getting calls like, hey, the dishwasher's broken. Like with us, I handle maintenance under like $200
Yeah.
because I want to keep things going and flowing. And like, if I got to wait for a landlord to fix a toilet in a week, I'm going to get bad reviews on Airbnb. So there's a lot of things that we do that really makes it super hands off for our owners. I mean, to the point where, I think I was talking to one of my owners I've been with for like 3 years. She's like, I literally haven't heard from you. You just pay rent and everything's just like taken care of. So for those owners, it's
Everything's great.
it's a really win-win relationship. So I don't feel it's justified to pay more in rent for that. If anything, sometimes I pay less in that rent price.
That's interesting. I mean, everything you're saying makes sense. If I was a landlord, I would definitely want to work with, people. People suck, right?
Yeah.
They don't take care of things. But it sounds
Yeah.
like, especially if you're taking care of the small maintenance under $200, that sounds like a great deal.
Yeah.
So when you knew it was time to like step away from your W-2, how many of these arbitrage rentals did you have set up? Hey guys, my company, Page Capital Group, is actively sourcing and buying multifamily deals. If you're looking to put your money to work, gain some tax efficiencies, and grow your portfolio while we do all the heavy lifting, go to pagecapitalgroup.com/invest. That's Page, PAIGE, capitalgroup.com/invest, and someone from our team will reach out. Now, back to the show.
I feel like I had probably 11 at the time, and they weren't all arbitrage. I was also doing co-hosting too, which co-hosting is the same thing, except you're not signing a lease. You're just managing the property for the owner and then taking a percentage of the revenue. So there's no downside of that, right? You're not investing in furniture. You're not on the hook for a lease. Like arbitrage, you could have a bad month. We have bad months in the winter where we're having to pay out of pocket for rent or expenses. So there's a risk with arbitrage. You make a lot more, but with the co-hosting, you're just taking a percent of the revenue with no incurred expenses. So at the time I had 11 properties, probably maybe 3 or 4 of them might've been co-hosts at that time. It was when I kind of made the move.
How did you go from arbitrage to co-hosting? How did you make that jump?
Well, so in San Diego, it was funny. Like right when I started this business, it was actually like around my birthday. I was like, I'm gonna do this business. I'm gonna do short-term rentals. I'm gonna do this arbitrage thing, and then boom, San Diego's talking about regulating short-term rentals. They were gonna make this licensing process. We weren't gonna be able to do it. There's all these talks, and I was like, oh shit. So I had one arbitrage at the time, and I was like, well, if they're gonna regulate this and make all these permits, and it's gonna be harder for me to do, I'm like, I don't want to be on a hook for a lease if I can't short-term rent. So that's when I started pivoting at that time and started to do more co-hosting, finding owners that wanted me to manage their Airbnbs because, you know, they could apply for the license. I wasn't on the hook for any lease. And then I just started expanding outside of San Diego in areas for arbitrage that I knew I could do it, you know, without these licenses impending.
Yeah, I was reading, or maybe listening to another podcast, that they had 5,500 licenses in San Diego.
Yeah.
A year ago, they still have like 800 of them left.
Yeah, I think it's
I thought they were going to go like crazy.
Yeah, we all thought they were going to go like crazy. I mean, even like some people were like selling their properties, didn't think they were going to get a license. It was this whole ordeal, and it was so funny. They like didn't even reach the cap. So that's once that happened. I think that was last. That was kind of like that happened like right after I had quit my job, and I was like, oh shit, we can get more in San Diego. So then I went nuts that next year and just started adding more in San Diego because we could.
Yeah. How do you pitch like a co-host to an existing Airbnb owner?
Yeah, so I usually go after poorly managed properties by other vacation rental companies. So the big ones are Vacasa and Evolve. These companies just they're too big a fish, right? They have way too many properties. They don't have, you know, good quality control. They have horrible reviews. It's just an all around, they're just a terrible company at the end of the day. If you ask anyone about Vacasa and Evolve, they really don't do a good job at what they do. So I usually target those owners that are in pain. They got really bad review scores, bad photos, things like that. And I'll hit them up to kind of see if they're interested in a different management experience. To work with us because we're local, right? We're in San Diego. We're expanding outside of into more of SoCal, but it's like there's something to say about like me being here, right? It's like I'm telling an owner, like if you have a problem with your property, like I'm going to go to your property and I'm going to go solve it. Or someone on my team is like, there's just like a different sales pitch when like they can shake your hand and see you versus like a larger company like Vacasa, you know, they're calling them and they're on hold for 3 hours to try to get someone on the phone. It's just a different experience. We're more boutique.
Yeah. What is your, I don't even know how to say this, your roster? What does that look like now?
Yeah. Like on our team?
Well, I'm sorry, properties that you're managing.
Okay. So right now I think we're at 25, maybe 26 now.
Oh yeah. Bro, that's sick.
Yeah. That's sick. I think, excuse me, I think 9 of them are arbitrage still. We've kind of pivoted to really scale the management side of things and be more of a true vacation rental management company, short-term and mid-term. I haven't talked a lot about that, but we do both strategies. So kind of been scaling in that direction is more the management than arbitrage. But arbitrage is still great, really good profit margins.
Yeah. Why are you guys making that decision? Like what's the data behind it?
I think it's less data. I think it's just more you can scale faster with management, right? It's people already have the licenses in place. They've already paid for the license. They have their furniture in place. They have the operation essentially in place where we can just walk in tomorrow, optimize it, and start operating the next day and start cash flowing right away with no initial investment. Whereas arbitrage, it's like, I got to sign the lease. If the owner's making you pay a deposit, you got to pay first month's rent deposit, and then you got to furnish the property. Granted, we do that on like a 0% business credit card, but you know, that takes time to pay that off, right? And then once you pay that off, then get that money back, rinse and repeat and keep doing it. Now there's strategies to kind of do that faster where you'll ask for like a month free or 2 months free on the front end from the owner to try to pay off all that quicker. But, you know, there's still that initial investment, which it's not the same investment as like buying a property, but there's still an investment that with the co-hosting and management, you know, you can get in tomorrow, you know, and start making money without really any investment into it, and a little less risk, right? So anyone that's kind of starting out, like I started out with arbitrage, I loved it. I would never change anything about it. You can make a lot more money than management doing it, and it's a great strategy. But If maybe your risk tolerance is a little lower, I would say start in like the co-hosting, right? Because it's just your time. That's all you're giving up at the end of the day when you're getting started. There's no really big investment into it.
Yeah. What is it? I mean, what does it typically cost to set up an Airbnb?
Yeah, so it depends. I mean, it depends on the property size, amenities, things like that. But I mean, we could furnish like a 2 bedroom maybe in like 10 grand, and then maybe a 3 bedroom in like 13 to 15. Um, 4 bedroom, maybe 18-ish grand. And it really depends where you're buying your furniture, how big the place is and stuff like that. And arbitrage too, you kind of want to do it cost effectively, right? You don't want to drop 50 grand on a 3 bedroom house. I mean, if you own the place, that would make sense to do something like that. But with arbitrage, without owning the property, you kind of want to, you know, furnish it on a budget for sure. But with making it look nice,
Yeah.
right? Design's super important these days.
Yeah, I was reading or listening to, I don't know if I read or listen to the stuff that I'm bringing up, but it was saying that creating an experience for
Yeah.
these short-term rentals is so important these days,
Yep.
especially when you have the big companies, probably like the Evolve and whatever the other ones are, that are very bad experiences, probably
Yeah.
all the way around it.
Yeah. That's something we're and I'm glad you brought that up because that's something we're super passionate about. My fiance and I is creating that experience and like redesigning these homes like for your ideal guest and making it like a sweet experience where people want to stay. Because I think that's how you have to stay competitive in this market. I'll give you like a case study. We had an owner in Mission Beach, San Diego, which is like a top vacation destination. This dude had a beach house on the beach, like one house back, like unreal house. He had a license, which Mission Beach is capped, so he has like a golden ticket essentially um, for this property. And when I met him, he was like, "Yeah, I'm thinking of renting it long term or selling it." He's like, "I'm Vicasa's managing it for me, and they're just doing a horrible job, and I'm only making 90 grand a year gross revenue." And I was like, Jesus, that's terrible. Like, let me look at it. And I looked at his photos. His photos were terrible. His reviews were awful. Everything was just, it was just really poorly managed, terrible pictures, just an awful experience. And so I was like, just told him, like, dude, just trust me. Let me take this over, totally redesign it. And I promise you, you're going to do way better. And so he trusted us. We literally like had this truck come up. We threw everything out of his house, his couches, his TVs,
No way.
everything.
Everything.
We ditched everything. I was like, you got to start. Because I mean, dude, it was like, I could show you pictures where it was like grandma's curtains, stained furniture, just everything. So ditched it all, had him like repaint the whole house, dial everything in, and then we redesigned it like with families in mind, our guest avatar. Really made it a cool experience, like fun wallpapers, really made it pop. And now he's projected to, I mean, we're booking absurd revenue. He's projected, he did 90 grand gross revenue with Vacasa with our listing. He's projected to do like 180, so doubling his revenue. And Airbnb just released like this new like measurement on like top listings, and we just got ranked as like the top 5% of listings globally. So it just like goes to show that
Wow.
like
Globally?
globally in the world, and it just like goes to show like just like management, reviews, and design are so important in this space. And like a guy that like literally had the golden ticket of a property was going to get rid of it based on like his current paradigm of where he was at, and we took over and just totally turned it around 180. Just goes to show how important that
Yeah.
design and experience, reviews, all that is in this industry. It's super competitive now.
Yeah, I'm looking at pictures of this beach too, and it's just like, you're right. This is a golden ticket, especially one house back, and he was only doing 90 here. That's
Yeah,
wow,
I know, it was crazy.
wow.
So yeah, he's super stoked to be with us, and we are too.
Is it too late to jump into the Airbnb game? Like, if I don't have an
No,
Airbnb right now, have I missed a wave?
no, never. You're good. I mean, I think if you listen to the public, everyone says Airbnb's dead, Airbnb's down, what have you. I don't think Airbnb's dead. I think it's weeding out the mom and pop type operators that don't do it professionally, that don't really place an emphasis on design, pricing strategy, listing optimization, so many things that you need to do to be a successful operator in this business. Um, I just think it's just gotten a lot more competitive, and you just have to kind of step up to the plate in these sea full of new listings and things like that. But no, it's never too late to get started, especially if you're starting out co-hosting. I mean, people are always going to have vacation rentals. I always tell people that in San Diego, they're like, "Is it still good to Airbnb in San Diego?" I'm like, Airbnb is not going away. Like people are going to visit San Diego every year and they're always going to come back for vacations. You just have to have the right product to sell to them. If you have a crappy product, they're not going to
Right.
book with you. And Airbnb's everywhere, right? It's like I'm from Rochester, New York, and my friends kill it out there. And people are like, in Rochester, New York? I'm like, yeah, because people are always traveling and they don't want to stay in hotels anymore. If you got a family of, 3, 5, you want to stay in a house all together, sharing the kitchen, sharing the living room, watching TV, going in the pool and hot tub together, having like your own space. No one wants to stay in a hotel, book 3 rooms, and not have that like homey experience. So I don't think Airbnb is going away. I think maybe the properties that are more like apartments that really don't have much to offer, it's just like a 1-bedroom apartment. I think those properties are always going to be maybe harder to perform in, but I think the places that focus on that experience, the big houses with the pickleball courts and the pools and everything like that, I think those will still kill it because hotels can't really compete with that type of experience.
Yeah, I think Rich was saying something about his pickleball court on his Arizona listing, and once they started advertising that, the earnings went up like some really crazy, like 30% or something.
Yeah, Rob, I
It's
think
it's
crazy.
go ahead.
No, Rob Abasolo,
Yeah,
I think Robil, he did the same thing. He spent like 20 grand on a pickleball court, and I think his revenue like skyrocketed like 40 to 60 grand just from like that one investment.
for pickleball, that's
Yeah,
nuts.
it's a
That's
craze.
nuts. Pickleball. Yeah, it's taking the world by storm.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, for sure.
we're we're in the process of building a new house out in McKinney, Texas, and the master plan community. There's like where the younger people live, I guess, and then there's a 55 and plus active community, and they have like 4 pickleball courts in there,
Yeah.
but it's only for the active community. And I'm like, dang, bro, like how do I get in there? Like, well,
Yeah.
can I sneak in and
Yeah,
just use them? I don't
put
know.
a
We'll
wig
see.
on.
So,
Yeah, no, it's
right,
huge.
right. Just like I'm already mad gray.
Yeah. Oh, I'm getting there too. You can see right here.
So
It's a
much
big
gray,
sport though.
man. So
It's
much.
big out here in San Diego too. I've been playing it a lot more. It's super fun because I mean I suck at tennis, but
Really?
pickleball yeah, pickleball is just like it's like big life ping pong, and you can just be athletic and play. So it's super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
love it.
haven't played yet, but my boy, he plays a lot, and he says I'd be really good because I'm 6'5".
Yeah,
So
there you
he's
go.
like, man, they just put you at the front of the net, and you're just getting everything.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
No, you should. It's fun.
So I have to give it a, I have to give it a
Yeah.
shot, man.
Hell yeah.
What's your management company? What's it called?
West Coast Homestays.
Real quick, guys, if you're enjoying this show and want to help us grow, share, shoot us a 5-star rating, and follow the show on Apple or Spotify. My goal is to continue to grow and get bigger and bigger guests on the show to reach more like-minded real estate investors and help everyone be more bold and build more wealth. Now, back to the show. West Coast Homestays. So me, right? Let's say that I don't have an Airbnb property, but I want to get into the game. Could I come to your company and rely on your expertise to locate a good potential home and then do the design and then take that co-host fee on top of it?
Yeah, 100%. So if you were saying you wanted to purchase a property,
Yeah, or maybe not purchase, or maybe arbitrage. Let's say that I have I want to get into the Airbnb game,
yeah,
right? And me personally, I have no idea where to start.
got it.
Are you able or willing, or is that part of your business plan to help people like me get into the game?
For sure. I mean, that's kind of like where my passion has gone is that keep scaling, making more money. It's like, it's all great, but I think there's like a bigger purpose to this. Cause like when I got started, I saw one Facebook post of this kid posting, I quit my job. I make X amount a month of doing this game of arbitrage. And I remember I saw that and I was like, oh my God, I want to do that. And like, look at me now. If I never saw that post, maybe I wouldn't be where that is. So I want to like give that back because quitting your job is like the greatest feeling in the world. It's the scariest decision in the world. But like once you're working for yourself, there's nothing better than that. If I can give that to other people, that's freaking awesome. That's better than any money you can make. So 100%. I mean, reach out on Instagram or business. If you want to learn about arbitrage co-hosting, happy to help. If you need help with design, we do that service too. Or if you just need like consulting, like, hey, you're running the listing and you're just not getting the results you want, just like shoot us the listing and we'll give you feedback on like what you need to do to change it. No, we're all about it. We eat, sleep, live this stuff.
I love it, man. What makes a good market for Airbnb? Like, If there's three main check boxes that a market had to check, what would they be?
Well, I mean, so there's always like the data side of thing, like looking at revenue, occupancy, things like that, supply. But I would say like why are people going there would be a big one. So like understanding like what's the draw to that market. Is it a vacation destination? Is there the thing I like about San Diego is that it's a vacation destination, but there's so many other draws to this market. We have the naval base, so we'll have like military naval guys, DoD contractors. We have the hospitals, you got travel nurses, people like that. We have the corporations, we have companies, so we got people coming for that. So I think just knowing kind of what's drawing to that market to understand if it's a good market or not is super important. Because I like to not rely on one form of income. I don't want to just rely on Airbnb and vacation rentals. I want to rely on a lot of different things. So we do all that stuff. So we do like midterm rentals too. I haven't talked much about that, but we'll do midterm rentals too. So we'll work with corporations, insurance companies, the DoD contractors, and have these people stay in our properties for a few months. And that's sometimes even more lucrative than short-term rentals.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
Really
it's
interesting.
crazy.
Do you want to break down what the midterm rental market and process looks like?
Yeah, for sure. So midterm rentals is essentially 30 days or more. Short term's less than 30 days. So 30 days or more, the benefit of that is that a lot of these, as you see with short-term rentals, a lot of them are getting banned, licenses, regulations. Well, if you do 30 days or more, you're in that sweet spot. You can operate in that realm. And so it's targeting people that need 30-day stays. So it might be people traveling for work or snowbirds coming from Arizona, or not Arizona, snowbirds coming from like New York to San Diego or wherever to live for a few months, people like that. But we like to target more like corporations, so like companies that are coming for like a training for a month or two and they need a place to stay. We'll target those people. We'll target DoD contractors because we have the naval base. So guys coming to work on the base, the government will pay for them to stay, which they have really high budgets. And then our favorite one is insurance. That's what we do a ton of. So essentially, like when someone's house burns down or you have a flood in your house, what have you, right? You need to move out of that property and you need to go stay somewhere else while your house is being remodeled. So when that happens, the family needs to relocate. A lot of times they first go to a hotel, which they hate, right? It's a family of six and they're in a hotel. They want to go into a house. So they'll stay in our properties for, 1 to 3 to 6 to 9 months. And the insurance company, because they pay their homeowners insurance, will pay that bill for the property. But a lot of the times their coverage is a lot higher. So for instance, like an Airbnb in San Diego in the winter, we have one that might only gross 7 to 8 grand a month. That one's currently getting like 13 grand a month right now from the insurance company. So it's
Holy
like
cow.
almost double the amount during our slow season. And it's just 100% occupied. They're really great guests. The bill is being paid by an insurance company, so you know it's going to get paid. So it's a super lucrative, safe strategy as well to also kind of be in that, we call it like a hybrid model, short-term and midterm.
Do you market directly to the insurance agencies or to the families who've had whatever happened to their house?
So, I mean, it's hard to market to the families. It's more like being on Airbnb, Zillow, and those markets that those marketplaces that the families will find you on those if they are looking for themselves and say like, hey, I had water damage. We're looking for a place to stay, and so we'll help them that way. But the best way to do it is to network with the housing specialists at these housing agencies. So the insurance company, will pay out for the insurance claim, right? But they'll use these third-party companies to help them find housing for the guests. So there's companies like ALE, THD, stuff like that will find housing for these people, and they're super busy all the time. So if you network with them and create relationships with them, they'll send you housing leads. They'll be like, hey, Mark, we have a family of 3 needing a place in this zip code in San Diego. Do you have anything? And so we'll be like, oh yeah, we do. We can put them in this place. Perfect. If we don't, we'll broker it out to someone else. We'll ask people in our community, hey, does anyone have a place to stay in this market? Rent's going to be this. We'll take like a fee on it. But I like the midterm game because it's a really collaborative network of people, because everyone's trying to help each other out, right? Even if I can't fill it, I still want to find someone else to fill it. One, because you're helping a family in need, and two, you're helping create that relationship with the housing specialist that like you're the guy that can like help them out. Because if they got 100 people they need to find housing for, if you can kind of be that problem solver for them, they're gonna love you and kind of keep sending you more leads.
Man, that sounds dope, bro. Like, man, that sounds so much easier than the short term and more really lucrative than the long term lease.
Yeah, yeah, it's the sweet spot for sure. It's we definitely try to prioritize those when we can.
I think there's somebody on my street. The new house was built, and they're doing the midterm rentals with the traveling nurses, I believe.
Yeah.
So there's always people coming in and out. But my neighborhood, I live in the hood, bro. So it's like I'm trying to figure out what to do next. Maybe you can help me. Let me give you my scenario, and you tell me what you think about it. So with the house being built currently, it's going to take about 9 to 10 months. Mm-hmm. I live in Dallas, Texas. I'm about 1.5 miles outside of downtown. Mm-hmm. Probably in what a lot of people would say is the wrong direction. So I'm in South Dallas. It's a little sketchy, but we're right next to the highway. My house is adorable. It was built in 1911. Like this wood that you see back here, that's all original, 100-year-old shiplap, right? Like we have a ton of character all over the house. 4 bedrooms, 3 baths, 2,150 square feet with a deck. And then my backyard is behind a gate. Mm-hmm. So the idea was to do a long-term rental with that on this property when we move into the next one, because I have a 2.99 interest rate. I'll never sell this property.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's like I can't sell this property. Honestly,
that's amazing.
But with that, like with this place, right? Like, what would you recommend I do with it?
Yeah, I mean, so I think Dallas, you can't do STR for single family, or did they push that out? That whole regulation, they were saying you can't.
Kick the can down the road.
Okay.
Yeah, they haven't done it yet.
So that's what I would first kind of explore, because I think doing the hybrid strategy is the best strategy out there. I don't think doing strictly short term. I mean, strictly short term is okay, but I don't like doing strictly midterm. It's just a harder strategy. I like doing the hybrid, right? So throw your property on Airbnb, Zillow. You can go on these companies like ALE, THD, and you can submit your property on it and be in their database. So if something comes in, they'll hit you up. But kind of networking with people as well is the best way to kind of get those leads. But I would say furnish it and throw it on like a Furnish Finder, Airbnb, Zillow to try to get those like 30-day stays, because that'll just be easier for you to manage. But having that ability to short-term rent it is super important, because like say you get a really large booking that's going to move in 3 weeks. Well, now you have these next 3 weeks that are kind of like unbooked. And if you're in a only 30-day stay market, it's like that you just killed those days. So that's what's hard about doing just 30-day stay markets. So it's nice with the hybrid strategy. It's like, all right, let me open it up short-term. Let me get, a few weekend stays here to make some money. So that's what I would say to do, is kind of do like a hybrid strategy with it.
And how do you know, so what I've always struggled with or always been curious about with Airbnb was like the team that manages it, right? Like you're the co-host, so you're doing all of this, right? But how do you find like the cleaners and whoever else is involved in the management on the ground of these Airbnbs?
Yeah. And I would say like for you, like you like hire a co-host, but like you can do it yourself. It's not rocket science, but like what you need is like first thing is like a cleaner, right? They're the backbone of your business and they can do a lot for you. So even when they're cleaning, they can be your eyes and ears, even doing light maintenance stuff, things like that, or running things to properties when you need them. So the number one thing would be cleaners. Where you find these people is one, if you're in Dallas, I would go join Dallas Facebook groups for short-term rentals. There's definitely ones out there of people that operate in Dallas. And those are great resources of like, hey, I'm just starting an Airbnb. Does anyone have a good cleaning company that they recommend? I would start there to kind of see if they have any recommendations, which they will. Two, you can use a platform called Turno, and that's what we use to schedule our cleaners. It's Turno. Yeah. And so it's basically a marketplace for cleaners. So we use it really to schedule our cleaners. So it syncs with our property management software. So every time we get a booking, it puts the reservation on this platform so the cleaner knows when they need to go and clean. They can upload their pictures. We put our checklist on it. So it's a really good software for that. But what it's also good for is that you can put like bids out for your property. You can say, hey, this is my property in Dallas. It's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. um, who wants to clean it, and people will bid on it, and they'll tell you like what their price would be to clean your property. And so you can find cleaners as easy as that. It's really kind of like, in a way, calling an Uber at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And so then you can add these people to your team. You can have backup cleaners so that if one can't make it, you got a backup or two. So that's like a really easy way to find cleaners. It's just finding good cleaners is hard. So that just comes through experience, interview, get recommendations, things like that. But yeah, your team, you would need a cleaner and then a good handyman. So you can find those on TaskRabbit. So say you were furnishing your house, I would start by like going on TaskRabbit, Thumbtack, things like that to hire people to like build your furniture and stuff like that, to kind of build rapport with them, see if they're like a good fit, you vibe with them. And then once you build that relationship with them, like see if they want to kind of like help you more with your property when issues come up. So I would have at least like 3 handymen on deck, because with handymen, it's like, they're not always available all the time. So having a few you can call.
Right.
Because with short term, right, it's everything's an emergency is what I like to say. It's like if the toilet's not working, we got to fix it today because the guest is there for 2 days. Versus like a long term rental, if something's not working, you can take a day or two to fix it. It's not like, unless it's not urgent, it's okay to take a day to go look at the dishwasher. But short term, you're in this hospitality space, so you kind of need to be quick with resolutions. So having like a handyman that understands that, knowing like, hey, like, we have this window between check-in and check-out, and if something's broken, like we need to fix it between 11 and 3 p.m. Before these guests come. So it's good to have a few on deck, but that's really all you need.
Does they have to be on call basically? Does that mean they cost more than they typically would?
So they're not, unless you're paying them to be on call, because when you just have one property, you can't hire a handyman full time, right? It doesn't make sense to do that. So that's why you just have multiple contacts. Like have a list of 3, 5, 10 handymen that you can call on, so that if handyman A doesn't answer or he can't get there, you go to handyman B, handyman C, handyman D. So it's just kind of having that list to go through. Hey, are you available today at 2:00 to go fix this? And then I wouldn't say they overcharge for something like that. Maybe if it was in the middle of the night, then yeah, they can charge you more for that. But it's just kind of like hitting them up for the service.
That's good to know. That's really good to know. So with interest rates being what they are, and us being in this weird kind of quasi recession, not really, but we are, like, does that affect the short-term or mid-term rental market at all?
In what way? Do you think like people aren't buying houses and they're renting more, or where do you think?
Well, I think the unemployment ticked up like 10 basis points, right? It went from 3.8 to 3.9%, right? It's like, I don't know. I'm just trying to draw a line between higher interest rates and Airbnb.
Yeah.
If there is one.
Yeah, I haven't really noticed it. And our like buy boxes, we try to get more like luxury type properties. So maybe those aren't affected as much by recession, because the people that have money are always going to be traveling and things like that. But from the midterm perspective, like, if we're in a recession, if we're whatever we're in, if someone's houses burns down, they're going to need a place to live. So that doesn't really follow any of that market, because that's like out of a base of necessity, right? It's like people always need housing at the end of the day, and if they get displaced, they're going to need a place to live. So I think it doesn't really impact me too. I'm sure in markets it would, short term maybe, but that's what I think they showed studies that like during recessions, like drive to destinations are super important. They realized that like people are always traveling no matter what market we're in. It's just when the market does change, their patterns of travel change. So maybe they're not doing fly to destinations, they're not flying to Mexico, but they'll go drive to Yosemite. They'll go do trips like that. So being in those like drive to markets, I think is important during those times.
Yeah. I was reading that study too. I thought that was super interesting.
Yeah.
So you said you're doing mostly high end. Is that because, or like, what's the difference between like a high end Airbnb versus a low versus like a mid?
Yeah. I guess where I'm at now is like for our company, I'm super focused on like quality over quantity. Obviously, we're trying to get a lot of units, but I'm really keen on that. I don't want to be another Vacasa that just scales too big and doesn't take care of their clients or properties. So, by doing so, I don't take on anything. I really don't do any like 1 bedrooms. I do 2 bedrooms if it makes sense, but we try to do properties that at least gross 100 grand. So that with our management fee, we're taking like 20 grand per property, because it just doesn't make sense to take a property that you're only going to make 5-10 grand a year. It's a lot of work. And there's a lot of maintenance and things you need to do with that property that just doesn't make sense to kind of dilute your service to take on all these properties. So we're big on just taking like larger properties. So really like 3 bedroom, 2 bath and up, usually ones that are going to gross that 100 grand. So they might not always be luxury, but they'll have a draw that's going to be able to produce that type of revenue.
Right. That's super interesting. Super interesting. I try to wrap my head around like these super luxury, like massive estates on Airbnb that cost, multiple $1,000s per month. And then I hear, again, going back to Rich Summers, he owns a couple of those. I hear him talking about how much money they make, and it just blows
It's crazy.
my mind. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's absurd. We're doing one right now, and I'm curious to see how it does. But an owner bought a house out here that we're turning into like an 11-bedroom house, and so I don't even know what it's gonna do because there's nothing in the market. Yeah, 11 bedrooms. Yeah, it's absurd. I don't know how he's doing it, but he's doing it. It's just what he does. But it's gonna be really sick, and there's nothing in the market like it. So I don't even know what it's gonna do. I can't give you revenue estimates of what it will do. But I know there's a market for when you go from like 4 to 5 bedroom, the revenue jumps significantly. 5 to 6, not so much, but I always get inquiries of people asking for like 20 people to stay. It's a corporate retreat, bachelor party, what have you. So I think, being that 11 bedroom will definitely help capture those larger groups. Yeah, it's absurd. It's a lot of laundry.
Right.
That's where my head goes. I'm going from the management side. Like, shit, I need a lot of toilet paper and a lot of bed sheets.
It sleeps 42 people.
Yeah.
Comfortably.
Yeah, I haven't even added it up yet. How many we're going to sleep? We're still making it right now.
Yeah, man. That's sick, bro. That's sick. If you could go back and do anything differently from, that moment that you quit your job till now, what would it be, if anything?
No, I don't think I would change anything. I think it all kind of happened for a reason. I would say, I think I quit my job at the perfect time because I wasn't comfortable. That was something that I'm happy that I did. I was at 11 properties. I wasn't like making more than my current job, but I just had this intuition that if I jumped off into the deep end and like had my back against the wall, that I would just scale so much faster. Like kind of like we get in these like golden hand. We were talking earlier about these golden handcuffs when you have like a high paying job, this comfort, kind of just like, like why change, right? Because like your current situation is comfortable. Like what's going to make you want to go starting a business is super hard. What's going to make you want to go jump into that deep end and do it? So it's like, I just knew if I just got into this super uncomfortable environment, it would just push me to excel. And when I quit my job, it wasn't sunshines and rainbows, dude. I quit at 11 and then like I lost like, I think one owner I had 3 properties with, and just the relationship went bad. I lost those 3 and then lost another 2. So I was like, oh shit. I also like got engaged right before that. So spent a lot of money on engagement ring. And then I had to have like a surgery for my hip. So it was like, damn, all at once, quit the job, spent a lot of money and couldn't really work. But that January, I added like, I think like 10 or 13 properties like that year, just because I was like, I had to, right? It's like, I need to grow. I need to scale. Because I need to pay bills. I need to
burn the boats.
Burn the boats. It's so true. Kind of having that environment, like there is no point of return. Like, and so it really encourage people, if you can, get into those type of environments, because it definitely helps the process go faster.
Yeah, for sure, bro. Dude, this is dope, man. I've learned a lot. I mean, the cleaning, I don't know why the cleaning was just so hard for me to wrap my head around. Just like, how do you do that? So that Turno thing is dope.
Yeah.
Is there anything that I should have asked you, bro? Like,
no,
about the process?
I would say like if you're interested in short-term rentals, like go co-host for someone. And like, it's like, where do I find co-hosts? Like go ask your parents, your friends, realtors, people, see who has an Airbnb and see if they like might want help. Maybe offer your service for free. Like, hey, I'm trying to get into this. Like, let me help find you cleaners and let me help guest messaging, right? Just kind of like get your feet wet in it. Cause it's super easy to get into, right? If someone has one that trusts you and gives you a shot. you can get right in and start making money right away. So I would try to, like,
Oh yeah.
everything is solvable, right? Like you were just saying, like cleaners are super hard to figure out. Like it's like just ask someone; they'll tell you how to find a cleaner. It's everything like in the business is solvable.
Yeah. So who should reach out to you, and how should they reach out to you?
Yeah, you can DM me on Instagram. It's the Arbitreneur. It's like arbitrage and entrepreneur. It's like TheArbitreneur. So you can hit me up on there. So I mean, if you're trying to get involved in this game, arbitrage co-hosting, feel free to hit me up there if you want some tips or tricks. If you have a listing and you need help consulting, things like that, to kind of improve like the performance of it, or investors that are looking to kind of purchase this property type, this investment, that wants someone experienced to manage it. We're also trying to get into the boutique hotel space, managing larger amount of units. So if people are kind of purchasing larger properties like that, we'd love to kind of talk to you about our systems and operations. And we didn't really dive into a lot of that, but kind of what we do to kind of operate those larger scale properties.
Yeah, man. We'll have to do a part 2 on this and,
Hell yeah.
and really focus in on the boutique hotels, because I love the boutique hotel business model. I think that's super dope and
it's
super interesting.
Sure. In a way, it's way easier having multiple units in one area.
Yeah, I can imagine for sure.
Yeah.
Again, following Rich Summers, he's like the boutique hotel goat. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah,
just watching how he moves.
Yeah,
cool, man. Well, Mark, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Any last words before we hop off?
No, man. Thank you for having me, and look forward to talking again soon.
Awesome, man. I'm Trey Jacobs. This is Mark Paul Mary. Hey, we'll see you guys next time. See ya.
Take care.